Ayman Khan here for seconds out with WBC Interim and IBO lightweight champion Caroline Dubois. Caroline, great to see you. How you doing? What you reading, more importantly?
Well, obviously after I recommended you The Alchemist and you haven't read that yet, I think I should stick with that one so you can get on that. But I finished Andre Ward's book. It was really good. I was very surprised about everything that he had to go through as a kid. I literally didn't know. You would never have guessed. Like, it's an amazing story and a good read.
I've made a promise to you that I will read The Alchemist. I've just got one rule where I have to finish a book before I start another book, but I made a promise to you that I will read that book for sure. But not only with book reading, you had a presentation for your WBC Interim title as well too recently. A chance to kind of nudge Mauricio and say, hey, when am I going to get a chance for the full version of this title?
Yeah, definitely. Let him know that we're serious about this. You know, obviously boxing in Britain is very big and very supported, women's boxing at least. You know, we got the network, we got the TV, we got the crowds, and the people turn up for us. So, you know, just letting them know that, you know, okay, Katie Taylor's an old dog in the game, a veteran, but, you know, there's kids coming up behind her that can create something just like she did, and just got to give them a chance to shine.
Seen you put a couple of posts out on Twitter. First of all, was debating who's the greatest southpaw to have ever put on a pair of gloves. You've gone for who?
I've gone for Crawford and Hagler. Genuinely, Hagler was.
You can't choose two. It's got to be one.
Yeah, but I'm tied right down the middle. I think you got to split it with eras, right? The era of this time is Crawford for sure, but the era of back in the day, I think, is Hagler, and I don't think you can compare eras. Like, you can never say who's the greatest heavyweight and be like, oh, like Evander Holyfield will beat today's era as a fighter, because it's just completely different. And I just think in that sense, it's so different, like everything. But yeah, Hagler and Crawford has to be number one, number two for me.
By the time you hang up your gloves, you're going to be wanting to put your name in that mix, right?
I'd absolutely love to be in a list like that, where it's just pound for pound, regardless of gender, regardless of weight, just one of the best.
Well, speaking of one of the best, Katie Taylor will be someone that's in your sights, and we're talking about kind of the WBC Interim title picture. Do you feel that you'll get a shot at Katie for that title?
I think it's not really a case about Katie Taylor. She has a decision to make. Obviously, she's fighting Amanda Serrano in November, and then after that, she has a decision: fight me or vacate. Either way, I'm going to get a shot at the belt.
Do you want it to? Ideally, you'd like it to be Katie, right?
Of course. You know, you want to fight the biggest fish in the sea. You want to fight the girl who's got everything and has had everything at least once for one time. She's one of the greats about, and I remember watching her when I was 11 years old, watching her walk to the ring when she fought Natasha Jonas, and I was just so like, wow, that's what I want to be, that's what I want to do. And now to be in a chance where it's like, okay, now I can fight her, it's crazy, it's trippy, but I'd love the chance to step in the ring with her and find out who's the best.
Might get an opportunity, probably, I think you've been having maybe some conversations, but the chance to fight Rhiannon Dixon maybe for the title, she's out soon. Estelle Mosley maybe might be, if it's not going to be Katie Taylor, but either way, you want that full version of the title. Of
course, like, who doesn't, you know? We're in this boxing game for belts, for money, legacy, and the chance to fight the best, you know. Anyone who says they don't want to fight the best, you know, they have no business being in the sport. It's about fighting the best and testing yourself, finding out who's the number one.
Beatriz Ferreira is another name that's linked with yourself. People want to see that all-action fight between you and Beatriz. Down the line for sure?
Most definitely. Like I say, it's all about fighting the best. And I think Beatriz is up there as one of them. Like, genuinely do. I have a lot of respect for the girl. She's done a lot. She went to the Olympics the same year that I went to the Olympics, 2021. And she got silver medal. And, you know, that's an irk that I need to scratch that one. But yeah, I'd love the chance to fight her.
Names aside, then, what is the latest? Like, when are you expected to be back out in the ring?
Well, contractually, I'm supposed to be out before the end of the year, so there's a few options flying around in terms of dates. You know, you got Ben Whittaker saying he's going to make a show happen in America. There's an option there. I know there's a show happening in Abu Dhabi. There's another option there. And I know before the end of the year, I've heard rumours flying around that maybe there's another boxer show happening in England. So either way, there's three options. Which one makes most sense for me?
I'll get your take on some things that's happening in the women's division. First of all, you got Rhiannon Dixon versus Terri Harper happening pretty soon. What's your take on that fight?
I think it's a great fight. It's this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a great fight. I genuinely feel like Terri Harper, before she got stopped by Alicia Baumgartner, or before she got obviously beaten by Sandy Ryan, would beat Rhiannon Dixon quite comprehensively. I think she's got the size, the skill, the power, and the experience. But, you know, after getting beat by Sandy Ryan, getting stopped and having to quit on the stool, I think that's going to play a lot in her mind. And I think there's just going to be a lack of confidence. Coming back down into weight, I think that's going to play on her mind as well. Even if it doesn't take that much of a big toll on her body, I think it's just going to be playing in her head like, okay, I got stopped by Alicia Baumgartner that was only 5 pounds lighter than this. I'm coming back down. I didn't really want to come back down. And it's like, that would play on her mind for sure. And she's someone who's shown vulnerabilities in the mindset. I think that's the only thing that's going to mess her up. And with Rhiannon Dixon, she's full of confidence. She's dropped Karen Carvajal, who gave Katie Taylor a great fight. She's beaten her pretty comprehensively. You know, she's a girl who's come from white collar to a world champion. That's confidence. That's all on confidence, skill, and hard work. But I think the biggest thing is the fact that she believes she can do it. And I think in that fight, it's going to be a case of who believes it, who can dig deep when it comes down to it. And I genuinely think that Rhiannon Dixon really believes that she can beat Terri Harper.
Another big fight coming up as well. Sandy Ryan back over in America, where maybe she felt she didn't have a fair shake the first time around, takes on Mikaela Mayer.
Yeah.
Be a close fight, that, do you reckon?
Definitely another one where I think confidence but with this one, I think it's a case of, I genuinely think Sandy Ryan's the better all-round fighter. She's got a better jab. She hits harder. I've sparred both of them. She hits like 10 times harder. She's got better footwork. She's got better skill, everything. The only thing that she lacks, I think, is a little bit of discipline when it comes to fighting. And I think she loses her head a little bit, you know, against Jessica McCaskill. She could have made that fight look so easy. Like, look at what Lauren Price did. She could have made it look easy like that, but she made it harder than what it was, and it ended up a draw. And there was things where she could have just kept it simple and just jabbed and moved, but she wanted to, you know, guns blazing, put on a show, and it made it close. And I think one thing that Mikaela Mayer is really, really good at is sticking to a game plan. You know, she can stick to a game plan, and she's so disciplined in the ring. She obviously trains incredibly hard. She's got great work ethic. She never gasses out. I think that's the only thing that's going to bring it up for Mikaela Mayer. She's going to be so consistent every round, slowly applying the pressure. And it's just a case of who's got a better game plan and who can follow the game plan. I think it's a very 50-50 fight. One I'm going to get up at 2 o'clock and watch, but yeah, I'm excited.
Not quite a fight, but have you seen Claressa Shields got a movie coming out towards the end of the year?
I've seen it coming out. Obviously, you said it's coming out to the end of the year.
I think so, yeah.
So it's not out yet?
No.
I
think it's Christmas time.
Okay, I didn't know that. I knew she was coming out. I thought it was all done. But yeah, that's amazing. You know, she's done a lot, so she's going to have a lot to talk about in that film. And I've seen her documentary, T-Rex. So yeah, I saw that documentary. I think I got up crazy. My dad was like, oh, because we were all sleeping. He was like, he was just scrolling on his phone and he's seen this Claressa Shields documentary come out. And I was like, whoa. And he's like, find this documentary. And I was up all night searching for it. And I found it and watched it. So yeah. You
got a bit of a slice of being a bit of a star. You're on Stable, the documentary on BBC iPlayer.
Yeah.
It's good to see you on there.
Yeah.
Have you watched it back?
No.
It was good. It was real good insight into the gym.
Yeah. People have been saying how great it was and how, what's the word, like, it showed the different side. You know, we always see the fight step into the ring and we do interviews like this all the time, but we answer the same questions. No disrespect. But we kind of, how you feeling or fight?
I get it, don't worry.
We get answered, but with the Stable, it shows you this different side. It shows you how we're feeling. It shows you, you know, the nerves and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Get the sense, obviously, that you got itchy knuckles and waiting for that announcement. But your brother had a fight this past weekend at Wembley Stadium, and for many, wasn't fancy to get the victory over Anthony Joshua, but it was a resounding victory for him, beating Anthony Joshua by knockout in the 5th round. Did you catch the fight? What did you think of?
No, I didn't watch it, but I saw the ending, the stoppage, the knockdowns. And from what I heard and what was like everybody saying, it was, as you said, resounding. It was a beatdown from the 1st to the 5th? Mm-hmm. 5th round? 5th round, so 1st to the 5th round, yeah.
Just, what do you think about Daniel's progression
As a fighter.
As a fighter, and that moment, because a lot of people kind of casted doubts about him, you know, from the Joyce fight, from the Usyk fight, and never thought maybe this moment would come. And now he's, you know, kind of shocked the world, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say is boxing fans and boxing people are probably the biggest haters. Like, we just hate, you know. You lose a fight, we're going to hate you for it, or we're going to hate you forever. How you lose the fight, we're going to hate you forever, and it's going to stick in the mind for a very long time. And it's just about being mentally headstrong and just thinking, okay, that was a blip, or maybe that was an experience, and I'm better than that experience. And if you truly believe you're better than the experience, you shouldn't let what other people say. You know, you got so many people saying, oh, quit and all that stuff, but they don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's like to get punched in the face by Joe Joyce. You know, they don't know what it's like to be in a ring with someone like Joe Joyce. And Joe Joyce is beating a lot of people. And, you know, now, like I said about haters, like, now everybody's hating on Joe Joyce. You know, he's lost to Jang twice, but they forget when he destroyed Joseph Parker. They forget when he obviously beat Daniel. They forget what he did to everybody else prior and up to that moment. They were saying he was going to be unstoppable, the juggernaut, you know, can't get hurt. Like, and so, you know, you just got to really just think about yourself, be selfish, and just do what you have to do. And I think it's a good thing with people like Daniel. We're moving from the era of the Floyd Mayweather era, the undefeated, the O era. And now you see Devin Haney suffer his first defeat. You see people suffer their first defeats and they come back. Mikaela Mayer, she's lost twice now. Twice, yeah. So she's lost twice and she's still in big fights. She's still headlining. It's not about losing. It's about continuing to fight, make big fights happen. Don't be afraid and just make it happen.
Well, there's kind of also now there's talk about a rematch or potentially a fight with Fury versus Usyk. Firstly, just on
Fury versus
the winner of Fury versus Usyk to the rematch. Firstly, if it is to be AJ again, do you think Daniel does it again?
I mean, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would never call myself a boxing. What's the word? Like a boxing
expert.
Yeah. I'm not a boxing expert. I'm a boxer. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen in fights. And obviously, I'm no longer part of Daniel's camp, so I can't tell you what's going on behind the scenes, how he's looking and stuff. I know how he fights, and I know how his mentality of how he brings to a fight, but I don't know these things. I don't know what AJ is going to change. I don't know if he can change. I don't know how his mental state is going to be when he goes into a rematch, if he goes into the rematch. So I really can't say. I know Daniel's going to do the exact same thing, and it's, can AJ deal with that? He couldn't deal with it the first time around. I don't know if he can deal with it the second. I don't know.
I'm glad you said that about mentality of Daniel, because I've spent some time with Daniel when he was in camp with Alexander Usyk and was just trying to get to know him and kind of break the ice with him, I guess. But it was all action, it was all work. Is that what it was like when you obviously spend time with him at the gym here, like just not really kind of focus on the outside thing, just straight into getting work done and focus on the task at hand?
What do you mean by that? Like all action?
Like his mentality-wise, just how he approaches fights and fight camps.
I mean, I think everybody's like that. I don't get it. I mean, I think everybody's like focused on a fight. They will train hard and focus on a fight.
Fair enough. No worries. Maybe a bad question there for myself, but yeah, just moving on to a little bit of a sensitive topic here, Caroline. So, if at any point you feel like you don't want to answer anything, then feel free not to. But there was a split in the gym that happened. Well, Daniel's father, Stan, obviously your father, had the opportunity to say his say, and obviously the right reply here, but it led to Stan and Daniel leaving the gym here and you staying with Shane. Just from your point of view, from kind of what happened, what would you like to say about it? And having seen the interview, what was your reaction to the interview?
I mean, I first saw the interview on the fight week of Daniel's fight. I kept getting tagged into it. I remember watching a video of someone just speaking about the fight, and they were like, "Oh, why Caroline and her dad not speaking to me?" And I was like, because my dad doesn't agree with female boxing and stuff like that. And then I watched the interview, the 9-minute video, and he was obviously saying that, you know, he didn't agree with female boxing and that he saw a change in me, blah, blah, blah. And I just think that's absolute BS, you know. That's trash, you know. That's a complete lie. And I think, you know, I started boxing when I was 9 years old. I'm 23 years old now. So that's over 10 years that I've been boxing. And in all the years coming through, there was never any, I don't really know how I feel about female boxing. If you look at the past and how things were, ask any of my old coaches, Lenny Haglin at the Islay, Del Youth, Gary McGuinness, you know, my dad was there. You know, he was there. He was ranting and raving. One of my biggest, like, I guess, what's the word, like, flag bearers, like, you know, I really support this girl. I really want to see her do well, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, there was never any dislike to the fact that I was a female boxer. You know, when I went to the all-female show, the O2, I think over 2 years ago, where Claressa Shields fought Savannah Marshall, I was third on from the last fight, and, you know, I fought, the fight ended early. I got showered, I got dressed. I came back out to leave, because usually when we go to fights, my dad leaves quite quickly. He just fights and goes, and that's his kind of motto, like, I'm in and I'm out. But, you know, he stood and watched the whole show, so there was never any problem with female boxing. Leading up to all my fights, he's watched all my opponents. He's watched Katie Taylor multiple times. Like, that's not the problem, you know. I think I would rather he just be honest about it and just say that, you know, I don't like her, or blah, 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 or whatever. You know, I think leading up to why I left my house and why I left home and why I don't speak to my dad is, you know, I think an analogy that I can think of that I think is a really good one is, you know, imagine that there's a shopkeeper and he takes in a kid that's young, needs help. He takes him in and he looks after him. He gives him money, gives him a set wage, and helps him and supports him for a very long time. You know, the kid's so, like, admirable and so, like, so grateful that he's been given this opportunity. He's been desperate. He's on the streets. He's going down the wrong path. This guy takes him in, gives him a job, gives him a focus, gives him something to do, and everything. He's so grateful that anytime this guy asks for anything, he just does it. He doesn't even think about it, don't question it. Anything that guy does, ask him, go get this, he's there and back, you know. Stay overnight, he's staying, you know. Work extra hours. He's so grateful. But as this kid grows up, as he starts to develop, as he starts to grow as a person, he gets a family of his own. He gets a house, he has a mortgage, he's got bills to pay, and now he's grown up. It's been 10 years he's working with this guy. And, you know, the one thing that he wants is a promotion. The one thing he wants is more money. And the guy will give it to him because he feels that he should be grateful. He thinks that he's helped him, that he doesn't deserve what he wants. And he's worked for years and years and years, and this guy won't give it to him, so he has to leave and go somewhere else. And obviously this shopkeeper is scorned about it. He's upset about it, and so he goes around, you know, he can't deal with the fact that he's left him now because he feels like he owns the person. And so he goes and just kind of shits on his name. And obviously it's an analogy. It's not exactly what happened, but I think it's a good analogy. I think my dad wants me to act a certain way, be a certain way, and, you know, I was 9 years old when I started boxing. He says that I've changed. The only reason I started boxing was because I took my life into my own hands and I decided that I wanted more for myself. I truly wanted more for myself. You know, my dad's got 7 kids. You know, he's got 11 kids in total, but with my mom, he's got 7. And I'm the middle child. And one thing you gotta know about the middle child is that, you know, sometimes they get overlooked and they don't get that attention and they have to fight for it. And I was someone who took my life into my own hands and fought for it, you know. My dad was only paying attention to the boxers and to the boys, as he said in the interview. He didn't really focus about the girls. He didn't, you know, by his own admission. He didn't pay attention to my sisters. He didn't pay attention to none of them. And so I guess as a young kid, you see that and you think, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And I said, I want to box. You know, obviously I was a fan. I genuinely, hand on my heart, was a fan. I liked the Contender series that happened every weekend. I watched all the fights, and it was something that I loved and was passionate about. And so I asked my dad if I can box. I pestered him, and he saw that there's this fire in her. She truly has got a fire in her that's different from her brothers. You know, my dad put Daniel in boxing. With me, I asked for it. You know, I wanted it. When he didn't take me, on days that he didn't take me, I used to cry. I used to break down and cry and throw a tantrum, and none of my other brothers had that. And he saw that in me, and he helped drive me up and down the country, take me wherever and ever. And I guess what it was is he just wanted me to stay a certain way, but I was 9 years old, and I'm growing You know, I went to school. My brothers didn't go to school. My older brother didn't go to school. I was on the GB team. I went to the Olympics. Because I was a good amateur, I used to travel a lot. You know, I went to Buenos Aires, Argentina. I went to Bulgaria, Serbia, everywhere. I traveled everywhere. And I think that helped open up my mind, helped change me, change the perspective. I saw how other people treated their children, and I saw how other people didn't. And my mind grew, my mind opened up, and I saw what was acceptable and what I wanted to accept. You know, my boundaries just like got bigger. I was like, I'm not gonna settle. And I remember coming to a conclusion for myself, like, who am I boxing for? Like, I remember once when I suffered my first amateur defeat, my first defeat, like, of all time. You know, there was a long period where I was undefeated. I went 60 fights, never lost a fight. Europeans, Worlds, Olympics, won them all. And I remember turning senior, and I lost for the first time. And it was the most heartbreaking moment. I don't know how to explain. I remember crying for, like, just straight days, like, just crying. And the whole experience going and losing that fight, it was just because I wasn't ready. I wasn't experienced, and I wasn't getting the support. You know, one thing that my dad was honest about is that he stopped supporting me when I was 16 years old. With boxing, he just stopped looking after me and supporting me and stopped pushing me because he didn't like the way that I was changing. As he says, I was becoming more independent, and I wanted more from myself. And I remember coming to that point where I did lose that fight, and I just was like, I was crying, I was devastated. And then I went back onto the GB team because we was preparing for the Olympic qualifiers that were coming up like 4 weeks later. And I remember running around the track. I was the heaviest. I needed to lose weight. And I just was like, what am I doing this for? Like, who am I doing this for? The Olympics is coming up. It's a make or break moment. You've got one qualifier to make it. Either we make it or we don't make the Olympic team. I was like, who am I doing this for? And then it was like a penny drop moment. I was like, I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing this shit for myself. I'm not dying, making weight. I'm not sweating out. I'm not not eating for days. And as a woman, I lose my period. I'm not doing this for some other guy. He couldn't care less. I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it for my future. And I came to that conclusion, and then I started to act on that, you know, and I just don't think my dad liked that change. He wanted me to do it for him, and I couldn't. I genuinely couldn't do it. You know, boxing's a hard sport. You really have to prioritize who you're doing it for. And if that's for your kids, it's for your kids. If you're doing it for your family, you're doing it for them. If it's for yourself, you do it for yourself. And I started boxing at 9 years old because I was doing it for myself. And I couldn't abandon my 9-year-old self and forget the sacrifices that she made, the decision that she made. And, you know, my dad says that I changed, but you only have to look at the past and see that at 9 years old, I took my life into my hands. If I never boxed, you would not know me. Mm-hmm. You would not know me. You would not hear about me. I would be nothing and I would be nobody. But here I am with so many opportunities in front of me because I took a decision at 9 years old. You know, no one did it for me. I took that decision. And I just think you struggle to come to that conclusion. And it started to get very toxic and very bad in that household. And, you know, he kept telling me, he kept saying, why can't you be more like Daniel? I want you to be more like Daniel. You need to be like him, you know, just. I was like, I can't be like him. I can't. And I wouldn't want to be like him. And that's not a disrespect, but, you know, we're different people. So I just came to that conclusion, and it was a decision that I had to make. I spoke to my brothers and sisters about it. I spoke to them. I was like, okay, I'm leaving home. I'm moving out. And they're like, okay, I want to come with you. You know, my younger brother and sister, they both moved out with me. So we left home, and that's what happened. And, you know, my dad's now saying that I saw the change. You know, the change was what I've explained previously. He says he saw that he never liked female boxing. He didn't like women hitting each other. That's absolute BS. You know, you only have to look at the past. I've been boxing for over 10 years, and my dad never had a problem with female fighting. And now he's saying there's a problem. Just look at the past. Ask any of my previous coaches, Lenny Hagland, Reggie Hagland, Gary McGuinness, Marcus Camejo, Mullins. I've been everywhere. Go to the Repton. My dad came in for all of my spars. He watched all my spars, you know. There was never a problem with female boxing. Trust me, my dad does not got a problem with seeing women getting hit. So that's BS. And I just wanted to call that out. And I think, you know, when situations like this come up, you just have to, you hear one person's side of the story, hear another side's story. I think you should just fact check it, you know, come to your own conclusion, look at how things played out and make a decision. Like, how long have I been boxing? Over 10 years. How come suddenly you realize you don't like women's boxing? Fact check it and you realize it's BS. Or it's half truths, and just come to your own conclusion by seeing what's the story. And yeah.
You said a lot there. I feel like you took me on a little bit of a journey, just stepping into your shoes for the moment. So I really appreciate, obviously, all you said. I've only got a couple of questions if you feel comfortable with asking from that. Just, from that immediate kind of decision to break, and you said that you and your brother and your sisters have moved out. What were those first kind of few weeks like, just finding your feet without your father, I guess? And who were you able to lean on?
It was hard, and we had to lean on each other a lot. It was definitely hard. I remember my dad kept phoning up Prince and phoning up me and stuff, and I was like, this, you have to realize, like, I guess as people you have to grow up and you have to realize, like, what you're doing, what you're living for, who you're living for, and what kind of person do you want to be. And it was just about figuring that out for the first few weeks, and it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, like, it was definitely very hard, but it was what it was. And yeah. I think, there's a great podcast that I watch. I hate podcasts, I'm not gonna lie. I obviously hate them. I find them, what's the word, like?
Too many of them.
It's too much, and it's just like someone telling you stuff, and they speak like they know stuff. And I find it very hard to listen to people when they just tell you stuff, and it's like, you're just telling me stuff, but how do I know what you're saying is true, I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. How do I know you're telling the truth? But there was a podcast that I watched with Terri Crews, and he was talking about his upbringing, Diary of a CEO, and it was crazy. It was so crazy. And but I think what happened was, I'm not gonna be rude, he's got to be in his late 50s, maybe 60s, and what he went through as a young kid, it took him over 60 years to come and process it and be able to put it down so eloquently. You can tell he's still hurt by it. You can tell he's still, there's still scars and there's still wounds, but it took him over 50, 60 years to, like, process it and be able to put it down and just look at it like a movie, something that happened to him, and not still be affected by it. And I think with me, like, same thing. Hopefully it doesn't take me 50, 60 years, but this is going to be a time where I get to a point of life where I've experienced things, and then I can process it and I can speak about it in more depth and more detail. But I don't think that time is right now, because it's still very raw and still very new. I remember when I left home, one thing that my dad did say was not to tell anybody what happened. And at first I tried to honor that, and I tried to be like, what happened. It's in the past. Water for ducks back. You just move on from that. But then I realized, like, why is that? Why do I feel that? Is it because of shame? Because you feel ashamed about what happened, or is it because you're trying to protect somebody, and it's like that person isn't going to protect you anymore? I know personally that my dad went and tried to like put shit on my name up to people, and it's like, okay, you're not protecting me, you're not looking after me no more, so what am I protecting? And I think it's just a case of that. And I think there is an element of it. It is what it is. But I think it's I have to come to a point in my life where, I've truly processed everything that's happened, seen it, been through it, been under it, and I can just speak about it without, I guess, emotion or anything. And yeah, that time right now is not now. Yeah,
I mean, last question I have on it, and like you're saying, it's raw, and it's obviously kind of going through kind of everything. And from my point of view as well, like being from an Asian family, nothing's ever plain sailing kind of either. Yeah. But do you kind of envisage a future, like years down the line, where maybe there's a better relationship in the family, or it's a hard question to answer.
I mean, as you said, it's hard, and you never know what's gonna happen. And I don't want to be a person who says never. I'm never gonna do something. I remember when I was a kid, and I was like, I'm never gonna wear hair extensions. And now I wear hair extensions. And I know that's a analogy, but I don't want to be that person who's like, oh, I'm never gonna do that. I'm never gonna. But I think right now that our relationship is completely dead in the water, and I don't want to, speak to him ever for the foreseeable future anytime soon. And it is what it is. It's a shame, but, if you knew what happened, I just wish I could, click my fingers and you could see, and then you can make a decision about who is telling the truth or what. And then you can make your own decision about whether someone's right or not. revisiting a relationship, but I can't do that. I can only become strong enough to tell you, and it's hard to say right now, but definitely right now, that relationship is dead in the water, and I just wish either my dad, keep my name out of his mouth, or if you are going to say about it, just speak the truth. Say the truth, I wanted Caroline to be a certain way. She stopped being that way, and we fell out. Just simple as that.
Sorry, I did say that was the last one, but just one more. Does that also extend to Daniel as well? Do you not speak to Daniel?
I don't speak to him.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, we'll move on from that, and I appreciate you once again being very thorough with that. I imagine that's where boxing's kind of come in and again through your life, just being that escape where you don't have to think about it. You can put your head down on things and really just kind of get to work, I guess.
Yeah, but
you need to fight, of course, right now.
Of course. Boxing's all about camps and fight camps and being in and out, kind of in shape, but like being in that moment where you're full crack in the whip and then you're taking the time off. And it's a time off period that can sometimes really mess people up, as you know. But yeah, I'm not going to say it's been super easy, but I realized, like I said, who I'm fighting for, what I'm fighting for. And to honor the decision of my 9-year-old self, I'm super proud that she made that decision, and I'm going to honor it every day when I step in the gym. I decided to box because I wanted to make something of myself, and because I wanted to be someone that people noticed and cared about. And that's what I'm doing every single day, just honoring that.
You said you're a big Contender fan.
I was.
Who was your favourite?
I remember the season with K9. Do you remember K9?
K9 Bundridge,
yeah. And I think he won that one, didn't he?
I believe
he won the series that year. I think he's one that really stood out to me. And then there was that Gomez guy who went
Alfonso Gomez.
Yeah.
I spoke to him last week,
No way. How is he doing?
He's doing all right. He wants to fight on Misfits.
Oh, no. No, not my Gomez.
Yeah.
No, he was cool. I liked him a lot. I think him, K9 and Gomez, I liked him. Gomez, I think, out of all of them, probably had the most successful boxing career.
Yeah, my start in the industry was I watched the Contender. I was doing like reviews on the Contender, and I thought I'd actually go and interview each one of them from the series. So I spoke to
everyone.
I spoke to a few of them. I spoke to Ahmed Kaddour. I spoke to Alfonso Gomez. I spoke to Reed. I think I can't remember his first name. It was from the first season.
Yeah.
But I ended up kind of moving into boxing, so I was a big fan of the Contender as well. Maybe Saka Beaker beat K9 Bundridge. Was that season?
I think it was, because I remember him getting beaten. Yeah, I really hated seeing that. But when I saw Gomez obviously get beat by Canelo, I was like, oh, no. But yeah, they were both really good fighters, and the whole series was, I think, a massive success. And it's a shame they don't do stuff like that anymore.
Well, they did revive it, but it wasn't as good.
But they just need to bring it back now in 2025, 4?
2024, indeed. Well,
yeah.
You're not a contender anymore. You're on the verge of becoming a full world champion, Caroline. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Once again, I thank you for speaking so thoroughly and honestly on everything. Thanks for speaking to us out, and look forward to seeing you back in the ring.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. You okay?
Yeah.